Hello students and welcome to chapter number 6. In this chapter we will be discussing writing positive and neutral messages. So things like giving good news and basically sending out requests, things that are neutral. It's not negative, it's not positive, it's merely a request. So how do we construct these types of messages? This is what we will be talking about throughout this lecture. So in terms of how do we construct these types of messages, this is our roadmap for this video. So we will be first talking about planning and organizing. How do we, plan and organize our messages? Things also like instant messaging. So when we use such technological applications like WhatsApp and other things, like how is that different from constructing such messages in an email? We will also be talking about responding. So if you received a neutral or a positive message, how do you respond to it? And also things like Goodwill messages, so things that send out just positive thoughts. And finally, online comments. How do you know, what's a more effective way of posting them, and how do you respond to them as well? Since social media, for example, has become a very commonly used platform for customers and business professionals alike. So to organize our neutral and positive messages, we have basically two approaches. We have direct and indirect plans. So in a direct plan, we are presenting the major idea first, and then we follow our idea by providing explanations and details. So we present what it is, what's our idea here, what's the request, what's the event, what's happening. And then we follow by, providing more details about this event, providing more explanations on the event and, more specifics. An indirect plan is when you basically reverse. So you present the explanation first, and then you move on to your major idea. Of course, as you may expect, the first one, the direct plan approach, is the most commonly used approach for neutral and positive messages. It attracts attention. And you start with a positive way, and it also saves time. Instead of, you get into the point directly that, because of the request that we received from our CEO, I want you to organize the following meeting or whatever. So you get into the point directly, and this is probably a more effective way of constructing such messages. So let's go through this example. So this is a neutral message. It's not positive, it's not negative. You are just requesting something from someone. So we are using a direct approach here. So we present the major idea first, okay? It's a direct question, statement, or a polite request. So you are basically saying, basically getting into the point first. I'm planning a new event for our client, and I could use your advice on holding an event like this. So you are asking Ken for his help, okay, on the upcoming event. Then you follow with the details of that event. So how many people are going to be in this party, and where is it going to be held, and what it is that you want from Ken. So how can Ken help? And then finally, you close with a friendly note. So you basically say thank you, and I'm sure that your advice is going to be priceless and valuable, and I'm sure that you are going to be, an asset to this event. So you need to. This is a good way of organizing your neutral message. You present the major idea first, you follow with explanation and details, and then you close with a friendly note. So using direct question, polite request, or statement to present what you want, to present your request, okay? So when you present what you want in a form of a question or a polite request, So look at the direct question first. So does Black & Decker offer educational discounts? Okay, so it's as simple as that and as direct as this. You are asking about the information that you want in a direct manner. You get to the point and you then follow with details. So Blair Junior High School will soon replace approximately 50 portable electric drills by our industrial technology students. So you presented the question first. So do you offer discounts? And why are you asking? Because soon you have this big project. Okay? And then a statement, a polite statement or request. Let me know how I might invest in your deferred money market fund. As an American currently working in Bangkok, Thailand, I cannot easily take advantage of your automatic monthly deposit plan. So this is a statement, a polite, respectful statement. Let me know how can I, take advantage of your services. How can I, benefit from your, online application, for example. So why are you asking about this? Then you present, the details and the explanation. This is a person who is living, abroad, and he or she is not able to take advantage of these services. So it's very basic. It is very, very basic. You get to the point first, either in form of a question or a statement or basically a request. Then after that, you provide the details or you provide, more explanation about why you are asking about this, what it is that you want to get by asking that question. So a friendly closing example. So how can you close your request that you provided in writing in a friendly, respectful manner? So instead of saying, I need the information by October 1st, you can say, can I please have the information by October 1st? I would appreciate it if you would get back to me by October 1st. Okay? And then instead of saying, thank you in advance for your assistance in this matter. So here you are assuming you're actually being passive aggressive here. It's like you're saying, I'm sure that you're going to help me, or else. So instead of saying it like that, you can simply say, thank you for providing this information, which will help us make a fair evaluation of Janice Henry's qualification for the position. You are not only just saying thank you, but you are saying, why are you thankful? So you are basically, being more detailed and more specific about your closing note. And it goes on and on like that. So many different ways of being respectful and of closing your written request in a friendly manner. And then we move on to instant messaging. So we have seen lots of, apps nowadays that provide us with the service, instant messaging. So things like WhatsApp and others provide us with, sending and receiving written messages almost instantaneously. So you send now and you receive it in the same second. So how is that different from writing emails? When you write an email, you expect the response to come at a later time. But when it comes to instant messages, these things are even more brief and more concise and more direct. So when do we use instant messaging at work? Is it appropriate? Is it considered professional, for example, to use WhatsApp with clients, with colleagues, with your boss, or not? Well, with the, especially with the, circumstances of the coronavirus, people have been working remotely since March. So yes, it has become, widely acceptable for people to use such applications for work. But when do you use it? Do you use it for everything? Of course not. You don't discuss, something that is very important over WhatsApp. So it's typically used for asking simple question or, getting some information quickly. And also, in the way IM instant messaging is used within your organization's culture. Again, you always go back to the norm of the organization. Is it considered acceptable or not to use WhatsApp in even highly ranked government offices nowadays, ministries, people are using WhatsApp. But in other smaller companies, maybe this is considered unacceptable. So you have to ask about the culture. You have to ensure, is this something that is considered acceptable or not? In actually lots of organizations, the first thing you do when you join the company as a new employee is that they will, send you the link to join their WhatsApp group, because you will get updates, and sometimes it's a good way to follow up on things. It's not for personal or confidential business information. You don't discuss sensitive, confidential information over WhatsApp, because it could get leaked. And this is not, in terms of cybersecurity, this is not a very secure way of exchanging information. And finally, this is not for excessive personal messaging at work. You do not get distracted by using WhatsApp. This is one of the pitfalls of using such applications at work. You could easily get distracted. You could start a conversation with your boss and then move on to your family group, and then move on to your friends group where people are sending funny videos and such. So ensure that you are using it just for what it is intended. So it's intended for quick exchange of information. That's it. So how do we use instant messaging at work? We create a professional screen name, right? Just like with your email address. You don't send an application and a resume using an email that says niceboy@hotmail.com. Okay, you use a professional screen name. You use a professional email address as well. So it could be your name, ahmedalhibshi@hotmail.com. This is very professional, very business-like. The same thing applies to WhatsApp. You don't want to see things like Hammer something, the Brave Lion. We don't want to see those names. We will not take you seriously. So use a professional name, and then start by asking, is this a good time, or got a second? So because maybe people are busy, so you can, instead of bombarding them with 10 different messages, just ask a question: is it a good time to chat? If they say yes, then talk. If they say maybe later, or if they do not respond, then just wait until they do. Keep items short and focused. So your WhatsApp messages, these are not reports, these are not essays, these are not emails. These should be very short messages, okay? So then they also should be focused. You don't, you need to follow grammar, punctuation, and capitalization standards. Just because it is through WhatsApp, it doesn't mean that you should neglect grammar and punctuation altogether. In fact, you need to be very, clear on the use of correct capitalization, punctuation, and grammar as well. And then you need to avoid using abbreviations and, use emoticons sparingly. So emojis, okay? You can use them. It is considered acceptable, but you need to be very careful when it comes to how you use them. And you don't use them excessively. You use them only when you need to. And then also avoid using abbreviations. So write the complete word or the complete expression. So instead of saying, TY, which to you it means thank you, maybe it doesn't mean the same thing to the receiver of the message. So ensure that you are avoiding abbreviations. And finally, you need to follow your company policy. Many companies nowadays have already issued a policy about how to use such applications for work purposes. So if there is such a policy in your organization, then be familiar with it and follow it, adhere to it, so that you are not in violation of your own company's norms and policies. Now we move on to responding. So if you are the receiver of neutral and positive messages, how do you respond to such messages? So first of all, you need to respond promptly. Promptly meaning you need to respond as quickly as possible or as soon as possible. Okay? So do not wait for very long to respond to such messages. especially if it is a request. Remember, we are talking about neutral messages, so it could be a request, or it could be, you know, a task that you need to complete. So you need to be prompt with your response, and then you need to respond also courteously, so in a respectful, in a polite way. You need to use the direct organizational plan when you are responding. Okay, so you need to present your idea first and then follow it with whatever details you feel necessary. Then answer all questions asked or implied. So make sure that you are addressing and that you are responding to each and every request, to each and every point in the message that you received. And also personalize your response, meaning, so use some of your style and ensure that you are addressing the person, or, you know, the people, the party who sent you this message in a way that shows that you recognize them as a person. So you use their names, for example, you use their job titles, you recognize you know, who they are. And then promote your company. It's a good way whenever you are responding to, you know, messages that are from external parties. It's a good opportunity to promote your organization. We at the Royal Commission, we at Jubail University College are very pleased to help you and to provide you with whatever assistance you might require. So it's a good way to promote your company services. And then finally close on a positive, friendly note like we have seen before. So I thank you for your follow-up, for example, and I'm looking forward to our meeting, or I'm looking forward to hearing from you again. I hope that I have, you know, addressed all of your concerns, etc. So when it comes to responding to neutral messages, you need to follow some of these guidelines to ensure that you are being professional and that you are being an effective communicator. How can we improve this response? Okay, so this is kind of an exercise for you. So this is a question, okay, that you received. Imagine that you received this through email. So what colors do you have available now for the Honda Civic? If I want a different color, how long would I have to wait? So here's the answer. So this person was saying we have atomic blue, taffeta white, and tango red. For other colors, it depends. This is not really courteous, is it? This is not very polite. It is informative. I mean, you have answered the question, but you are not being very much, you know, a good customer service agent. So you can say, you know, you can improve it by adding more details, by, you know, answering or addressing the concerns of this customer in a more respectful, in a more courteous way. So now that you have answered the previous exercise, here's sort of a revision for you. So did you include these things? Wait times for specific colors. You know that when you go and buy a new car, you might face this response that, you know, the blue is available, the white is not available, and you will have to wait at least 3 weeks before the car arrives. So why, you know, all of these colors are indeed available, but you know, you have to wait different times for each and every color. Have you informed the customer of the interior color choices? You know, a car that is white on the exterior, on the outside, might be beige on the inside, but a car that is red on the exterior might be something different, might be gray on the inside. So you need to be more informative to your customers about this. Did you inform them about your contact information? Have you encouraged them to purchase, to, you know, actually make the decision? You can tell them that in my opinion, as you know, as someone who drives this car every day to work, this is a very solid car, and I do, you know, recommend it. So it's a good way to make a sale. So you need to ensure that when you are responding to messages, you are not only being, you know, respectful and courteous, that you are providing all the information that they could possibly think of. and it's a good opportunity for you to promote yourself or to promote your your company's services or products. And then moving on to goodwill messages. So what are goodwill messages and how do we construct them? How do we respond to them? This is what we will discuss shortly. So what are types of goodwill messages? What are they? These are things like congratulations, things like recognition, things like sympathy and thank you notes. So you would receive these types of emails and letters at your company. You would get basically news about, we congratulate Khalid for being promoted to senior manager, or we are sorry to inform you that the father of Khalid has passed away yesterday. So these are called goodwill messages, or even things like saying congratulations to Khalid because he just got married yesterday, or he just had a baby boy yesterday. So these are all goodwill messages. How do you write them? How do you respond to them? This is something that you also need to think about. So how to write a meaningful goodwill message? If you were asked by your supervisor to send out an announcement to the entire department or even to the entire company to inform them that your department has achieved its target, or that one of your colleagues is getting married, so how do you write that that announcement? How do you write that message? You need to be prompt. Okay, so meaning you need to send the information out while it is still relevant. So you don't say, someone's father died 3 weeks ago. When they have already grieved, they have already buried their father, and they have already passed the sadness, and you don't come later and remind them of this sad event all over again. So it needs to be on a timely fashion. So while the event is still relevant, you need to send out the information, and you need to write out this message. You need to also be direct. So mention what's the idea in the first sentence or two, especially for sympathy notes. So you don't want to say, we are very happy to inform you that death is a really tough situation. We don't need all of that introduction. Just be direct. Okay, so we are sorry to inform you that the father of our colleague Khalid has passed away yesterday. So as simple as that and as direct as that. And then you also need to be sincere. So avoid language that is too flowery or too strong. So instead of saying things like Khalid's father died, this is very harsh. It is true. It is meaningful. I mean, meaningful in terms that it actually conveys a complete meaning, but it's not sympathetic. So instead of saying Khalid's father died yesterday, you can simply say, we are sorry to inform you that Khalid's father passed away yesterday. You also need to be specific. So personalize your message. You need to mention who is being congratulated for what, or what is the reason for being sympathetic towards Khalid or Hassa or whatever. So it needs to have some personal information there. And finally, you need to be very brief. So it doesn't have, you need, like, this is a good rule of thumb. You need to send out this message in not more than one paragraph. Okay, a personal note card or a one paragraph email may be plenty. Okay, this is more than enough. So it needs to be very, very brief. What's the reason? Who is the person involved? And that's it. As simple as that. So here's an example of a recognition note. Okay, so you are basically, you can say that this is an email or a letter that is sent by a manager or a supervisor to one of the employees who work under them, in order to say thank you, in order to say good job, to basically recognize their efforts. So as simple as as what you see. It's only a couple, only basically 4 or 5 sentences. That's it. You mention their name, you personalize it by mentioning something, personal about them. You mention the reason why you are writing this to them, why you are, appreciating their efforts or work, and then you end with a good note. Okay, keep up the good work, or thank you always for your efforts, and then your name. It's as simple and as brief and as direct as you can imagine. Here's an example of a congratulatory note. So when you want to say to someone congratulations for something like being promoted, or getting a son or a daughter, okay? So or maybe they are retiring, maybe they're moving on to a different company. So it's as straightforward as this. You begin with the reason. Congratulations on being elected president of the United Way of Alberta County. Okay, as straightforward as this. From the very first couple of words, now we know what this message is intended for, and for addressed to whom. Okay, then you provide some more personal details. You end up with a positive note. Best wishes for a successful fund drive, and that's it. And here's an example of a thank you note. Okay, you might want to say thank you for attending a meeting, thank you for donating some money to your cause, thank you for whatever. So you mention the names of the people who are receiving this message, and then you mention why you are thanking them. Thank you for your very kind donation, which we received today. And then you personalize it more. You give them some more motivation and meaning that your help is going to make a difference for our charity organization, something like this. And then you basically end up again with a nicely done written positive note. Thanks again for your kindness. And here's a sympathy note. So maybe when someone has a death in the family, their father has passed away, one of their relatives passed away, so how can you sympathize with them? You mention their name. Of course, this is something that it needs to be very specific. Dear Khalid, dear Hassa, dear Munira, okay? And that I'm sorry to hear that your father has passed away yesterday. I'm sure that you are in pain right now, but I'm also confident that you will get through this tough time, and I will be more than happy to help you with anything that you could need. And then again, you end up with a positive note. My love and sympathy to you and your family, and then you mention your name. Always be very brief. As we mentioned, you should fit all of what you want to say in no more than one short paragraph. That's it. And finally, we move on to our last part, and that is online comments. Okay, it is a tool that most organizations use to engage their customers through their social media accounts, in order to generate more interest in their products, services, and their updates, etc. So it has become an art of how people, how companies respond to their customers' comments online. So we need to make the decision of whether or not to respond to these online comments. Lots of jobs nowadays, it has become a very important part of the marketing department, or the public relations department, to respond to clients or customers' comments online. We have job titles now like social media specialist, content creator analyst, or something like that. So these are people who are responsible for maintaining the company's accounts on social media and interacting with the followers and with the customers of the company. So here is a kind of a flow chart of what can you do when you are faced with an online comment by a customer or a client. Okay, so first of all, we need to decide, is it a positive comment or is it a negative comment? If it is yes, a positive comment, okay, then you can choose to either respond or not. As long as they're saying good things about your company, then this means that this is doing you a good favor, actually. If it is not a positive comment, they're saying bad things about you, about the company, about the services of the company. So you need to just, check it. Is it a degrading one? Okay, a degrading one, meaning they are being very offensive when it comes to the choice of words. If yes, then you need to monitor, because maybe you will need to report them to relevant authorities, or report their account to Twitter itself maybe. If it's not a degrading comment, then is it a misguided comment? And so it's a negative comment already, but maybe it's a misguided comment. Maybe they have received some, incorrect facts and information. So what you need to do, if it is a misguided comment, you need to fix the facts. You need to tell them, I think you understood, you have the wrong understanding. We do not offer these types of services, or, this is not part of our company's pool of products. So you correct the information. Is it an unhappy one? Okay, is it basically an unhappy type of comment? They are unhappy with your products, with your services, with your online account or whatever. Then try to restore the relationship. Tell them, well, we are sorry to hear that you are unhappy, with our products or services. We are sorry to hear that your experience wasn't great. How can we be of help? What can we do to make you happy? Okay, so you try to restore the relationship. And if it's not an unhappy kind of response or comment, then you basically need to consider, what is the correct approach in this situation. So in order to decide, what to do with an online comment, you can follow this nicely created process flow chart, which will guide you through what to do with online comments. So here are some, examples of online comments that some businesses received. So what we need to decide here is, do we need to respond? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, we need to respond, then how? How are we going to handle this comment? So what you can do is you can read through some of these comments and decide based on the process flow chart that we went through earlier. So is it a positive one or is it a negative comment? If it is a negative comment, are they mistaken? Are they misguided? Are they unhappy with our products or services? So how can we respond? Do we need to correct the fact? Do we need to offer them some discount maybe to restore their relationship? So it depends on what it is that you want to achieve and how you are going to handle this comment by your customers. And here's another online comment. So again, what you need to do here is read it and then use that chart that we explained before. Is it a positive comment? Is it a negative comment? If it is a negative comment, what's negative? What is negative about it? Is it the product, the service? Are they unhappy with our prices? Are they unhappy with the quality of our products? So you need to maybe correct some of their information. You maybe need to, tell them that we are sorry to hear about your experience, and, try your best to, use this situation to your company's advantage. And when it comes to Twitter and other social media platforms, different companies have different strategies. And you have probably seen this in our, Saudi companies as well. How, for example, Burger King on Twitter is handling, online comments versus other similar businesses like McDonald's. Okay, some of them are more informal. Some of them they, personalize their messages. They participate in these popular hashtags to ensure that their company's name is being trendy and so on. So in here again we have different examples provided by the authors of the textbook between two different companies. So we have Starwood Hotels and we have Gap. So this is an example from Starwood. As you can see, they have been responding to some of the comments of their of their customers. So they're providing facts, they are giving out some information, and also thanking them for their feedback, and providing some additional assistance using direct messaging. Gap, on the other hand, they are not responding to any customer. They are basically just posting announcements. Just it's a news feed. They are basically just telling their customers about what's new, what's happening, what are some of their latest offers, and and what can their customers get out of these offers. So it's a different strategy. So is it a better approach? It depends on what you want to achieve. It depends on, whether it depends on the types of customers that you are trying to attract and engage. So it's all about knowing your audience. It's all about following a strategy that would make you at the end come up or come out actually as an effective communicator who is respectful and who is competent. Thank you so much for listening in, and I'll see you on the next chapter.